Lies, shenanigans.
All right. The way Hot Topics works, our hosts bring you hot topics they want to share. We'll ask, is it truth, lies, shenanigans? And our panel will talk about it for a bit until time is up. And then we'll go to our audience for questions and comments. So make sure you're talking to us in all our threads. We are listening. All right, so we're going to start off with Rob B. So, Rob B, you've got Biden calling governors names. Is this truth, lies,
Uh,
or shenanigans?
well, it's truth based off of somebody else's shenanigans once again. So, the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, and Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves, both Republicans, announced earlier this week they would allow businesses to reopen at 100% capacity and lift the mask mandates. So, Biden's remarks were in response to these shouted questions in the press gallery, specifically about these two states. So, Joe slammed them really. Just to say that the restrictions on business and is that what they're doing is a big mistake. So the quote as it was is, look, I hope everybody's realized by now these masks make a difference. We are on the cusp of being able to fundamentally change the nature of this disease because of the way in which we're able to get vaccines in people's arms. The last thing we need is Neanderthal thinking that in the meantime, everything is fine, take off your mask, forget it. It still matters. So now, is Biden just as frustrated as we are with the anti-maskers? And should federal health policy mandates supersede state level initiatives at this point in the time, given the scope of the COVID-19 pandemic? Let's start with Neo.
Yeah, so do I think that I think Biden is frustrated. I'm frustrated. I think we're all frustrated. When I saw it come up that all of these states were completely removing the mask mandates altogether and just do what you will. I'm like, we're so close. I mean, we're talking months away from kind of not eliminate. We're not going to eliminate COVID, but we're months away from at least being on track to just kind of be off for it to no longer be a pandemic, right? We're just months away. All we've got to do is just hold out, you know, continue to wear our masks until the vaccine is in everybody's arms. That's all we've got to do. So is it Neanderthal thinking? Sure. I was corrected in pre-show that it's not Neanderthal, it's Neanderthal. So
Neanderthal.
is it Neanderthal thinking? Sure, it's absolutely Neanderthal thinking. Neanderthal thinking. It's ridiculous, and Biden hit it on the head with that one. So, Lizzie,
Um, I agree with you. So I guess we are starting off this, show with an agreement, if you will. But I don't even think that this is really a thing. Like it's always, the Republicans, they spew out all of this nastiness. And then when a Democrat or someone who is not a part of their party and ideology comes back and hits hard, they cry foul. And they want to act like their feelings are hurt or act like we are the ones that, have no empathy and that are rude and obnoxious. Lest we forget when Trump called all of the nicknames and all of the insults that Trump has thrown to people about people over the past 4 or 5 years. He, called Joe Biden sleepy, creepy Joe. He, made comments about Hillary Clinton, about other Democrats in, the political realm. So, I mean, I think to refer to people who are anti-mask as Neanderthals, I think that's being nice. Because
that's
I've
true.
certainly
Actually,
said
I
much
agree.
worse.
Yeah,
I've certainly said much worse.
yeah. On
But do
this
I
show,
think,
actually.
Joe is as frustrated as we are? When he said that, I kind of went back to the debates and when you could tell his frustration when he was dealing with Trump and he was like, shut up, man. Come on, man.
Shut up, man.
Exactly.
Trump
Like,
needed to
yeah,
shut
so
up.
yeah, I feel it in his bones. He's like, really? Y'all, this is what he really meant by Neanderthal. Really? Y'all dumbasses still don't want to wear masks? Really?
Yep.
That's what he meant.
Yep.
That's exactly what he meant. As a
Johnny.
president, he is not going to say that,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what he meant.
Yep. Johnny.
I think that we're gonna disagree a little bit, guys. But
Nice.
I think that Joe Biden should not have used those words. It's almost like Trump kind of made a gateway for people to just kind of talk however they want to talk. Like, no, Neanderthal is not the worst word you can say. Of course not. We can call them worse words, but you're a leader. So just kind of like keep it together. Like if he would have used the word simplistic, we wouldn't be having this conversation, and we would be focusing, and maybe those governors probably could have focused better on, yeah, like a simplistic, like if he would have called them simple-minded or something like less offensive. I
I
think
see
that
simple-minded. Simple-minded
Given
is more
that
offensive
most
than
It's
people don't
Neanderthal.
worse.
know what Neanderthal means, simple-minded might be even more offensive in that
Really?
respect.
But
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
think,
I,
yeah,
now,
like
you
I
know,
think it
no,
can.
I think Gianni, for your argument, if he had called them dumbasses, then yeah, that would have been
no.
bad.
You know,
That would
That would
have
have
been
been bad.
bad.
I'll admit,
That would have
okay,
been
Joe,
bad.
Johnny made me think for just a quick second. So, I mean, the reality is, and it made me think about how many times we've complained about the name calling that Trump did. And we complained a lot about the name calling that Trump did
A lot.
over and over again. And
And
it is
for
kind of
good
like,
reason.
it is kind of hypocritical now for us to be kind of accepting, even myself, accepting that from Biden.
no. So this is different because Biden's quote is that we shouldn't be. It's the trappings of the Neanderthal thinking.
Thinking.
So he did not lash out
He
at
didn't
these
actually call
governors
them the name.
directly. He lashed out against the mindset. And this is a mindset that is not specific to the states of Florida and Mississippi. This is
I'm through,
this is
Joe.
global.
I'm through, Rob.
Yeah. So it's oh, I lost
But
my
Very
train.
had
counterproductive.
Biden not said anything about, even taking back what I said, simple-minded or anything, just had he kind of made his point, the governors are going to do what they want to anyway. Like if the governors choose, if they know that it's more important for their citizens, they're going to make the rules stricter, but they're not. So calling them a Neanderthal or simple-minded or whatever the case may be, primitive, is still not doing anything. Like in my opinion, that's just more of him lashing, or not lashing, but like him expressing his distaste or his like anger or frustration.
I think sometimes you have to call a spade within reason. Like, say calling, he's called Joe Biden, or he's called women politicians. We're talking about Trump. A lot of nasty, unsavory things. I don't, yeah, you might get offended if I call you a Neanderthal, but there's a reason behind that. Or if I say that you have Neanderthal thinking, like you're not thinking like a progressive. You're not thinking, as someone who has any knowledge or logic about the subject. That's exactly what that means. So it didn't offend me. Like, again, if it were me, it would have been a lot more coming out of my mouth, which is why I will never be a politician. Um,
Yeah, I decided against it myself for the same reasons.
yeah. But no, I'm with Rob. Like it did not bother me, and it touched on a lot of what we've all been saying. Like, again, y'all dumbasses still don't want to wear masks.
Yeah.
Really?
I'll admit,
Really?
I mean, I'm now torn because one, I agree that I'm buying both arguments, both Gianni and Robbie, because he did refer to the thinking, the mindset, and not necessarily the individuals as Neanderthals, which I'm buying that. But I am also buying Gianni's argument that, it would be great if we kind of get away from the name calling in general, even if we're talking about
It's unnecessary.
Neanderthals. I mean, thinking, the mindset. It would be nice to still get away from that, and so maybe we should hold Biden accountable towards that. I don't know. I'm a
Yeah.
little. I'll admit to being a little torn after hearing both
I'm
arguments.
all for holding Biden accountable. I just don't think that this is an incident that should be blown out of
Proportion.
proportion.
And,
Because
Mm-mm.
and I think it's
I'm
blown out of
very
proportion
critical.
because of comparison to Trump.
I'm very critical of Joe Biden, and I have called him out on numerous occasions for the nonsense that comes out of his mouth.
Yeah, true. You have.
But in this particular instance, I'm just like, okay, Neanderthal.
Yeah, it
Well,
is. Yeah, it's not that big. All right,
Yeah,
let me
I
get
don't
to
really
some of these
care about.
comments real quick. All right, no, Joe is Joe. This is Daria Winter. If you know him, he is much better than he was. That's true, actually.
that's true.
He would have said
That's
some
true.
worse things.
He
This
said
is
some
actually pretty
nasty stuff
controlled
in
for
the
Joe
past.
Biden.
Ask Anita Hill. Ask Anita Hill about Joe Biden.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's true. All right, and Kevin Thaxton says politicians are wimps. They dish out stuff that they can't handle. Yeah, that's true. Jacqueline Robinson, exactly, Rob. The GOP's faux outrage is offensive. Thanks for using Biden's actual quote, son, on quote on
Son?
this instance. She wrote son, but on this instance. Kevin Thaxton said Mississippi, other than changing the racist state flag, is stuck in the 1860s. Texans don't listen to anyone. That's true as well. All right, let's jump into our next hot topic. Great topic.
Truth, lies,